Is this episode 6?
Yeah.
Episode 6.
Oh, shit. Got some episode. Oh, shit.
We're back. We're back.
No.
Episode 6.
God damn it. No. Start over. Shit, that's going to make it. All right, here we go.
So, yeah, it's kind of a shit day.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, I said a couple episodes ago, like, we're going to be talking all this shit, and then we're going to look like assholes when we do this episode, and here we are, looking like a bunch of assholes.
I'm so glad that we decided to do this on Monday instead of Sunday.
Oh, it would have been terrible last night.
We weren't. I was not in a podcasting mood. I was not in a talking mood last night.
I'm way more coherent today and way more rational than what I would have been last night. I was pretty pissed.
No, we would have been, the whole hour would have been us screaming about all the things that went wrong and how we were wronged by the football gods.
Anyway.
Fuck Tom Brady.
Anyway, we got a great show coming up. We're going to talk more about the Super Bowl, let you know our thoughts and kind of how we seen that going down. We also got our first poll question.
Yeah, we got a
Facebook.
first fan poll. Put that out there. We're going to talk a little bit about sports centered around children's teams.
And then got some WandaVision. Latest episode is episode 5. We're going to talk about that.
I'm also going to tell a story about a terrible interview that I was a part of. For all you folks out there that are looking for jobs, we're going to basically show you what not to do.
There we go. Grayson, roll the intro music.
Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up. They got amnesia, don't remember how they played us. They wanna knock me down, but somehow I just stay up. Look.
Critically Unacclaimed Podcast. I am Tyler here with Brandon and our producer Grayson. What's up? You can find us on Facebook at Critically Unacclaimed. You can find us at Unacclaimed Pod on Twitter, and you can find me at Untyler Hicks on Twitter. And everybody else is going to eventually get some Twitters, and we're going to try to get
fat chance of that happening. You can also get us at the Critically Unacclaimed Podcast.com.
Oh, yeah, and we've got a donate button set up on there.
We sure do. We have a donate button set up. We've got a direct link right to our Facebook, Critically Unacclaimed. We also have a donation button right there on our podcast, our website. That website is the Critically Unacclaimed Podcast.com.
See, it's not as easy when you really get into it, is it, Brandon?
Well,
he's been giving me shit about these. Like, we're working it out. This is only episode 6. So.
Yeah, man. Honestly, those plugs went a whole lot better than
hey, I've been working on them. I'll be honest. I sit there and right before I go to bed, and I crank out some Critically Unacclaimed, some tags. Not really. I really haven't been.
Yeah, I was say we don't put nearly enough work into this.
Not at all. So we're gonna start it out. Unfortunately, the Chiefs lost.
Yeah,
Super
we
Bowl
came
55.
up just a bit short, about 23 points or so.
It wasn't even close. They kicked our fucking ass, and I'm going to say I'm still with the team. I'm ride or die, and I can't complain. It wasn't a terrible year. We lost in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady, which fucking sucks. It's probably the worst part of the whole thing. Is honestly we lost to Tom Brady.
There are 30 other teams that envy us.
Yeah, that wish they were us.
Wish they were us, and it doesn't make it any better. It doesn't make me feel any better about it.
The Chiefs are still, they just won the Super Bowl the year before, so, they were back. It was, it's been good being a Chiefs fan the last 3 years, honestly, and our only losses in the playoffs have been to Tom Brady. Again, fuck Tom Brady. I don't like that guy.
What were the Chiefs' record this year? What was their win-loss business?
They were 14-2, and then
2-1 in the playoffs.
2-1 in the playoffs.
16-3.
16-3, yeah, total.
What about the other team, the Buccaneers?
They lost. They were what would they have been?
14-5.
Yeah, 14-5.
15-5
So
they had
the
to play in the
popular
wild card round.
Yep.
They lost the popular vote.
They yes, we won the popular vote.
Well,
I don't know that.
You were talking about the officiating and stuff, and how we were pretty upset last night about some of those calls that were coming through. But after this morning, I kind of get it. I don't think we would have won that game if some of those calls did go our way.
No, it did zap a lot of the momentum out of out of the game.
Yeah.
I put my top 10 over on my Facebook, and honestly, the refs blowing the calls made it all the way down to number 5. The biggest one was the interception by Honey Badger and it getting called back from a hold. I just don't believe that was a hold.
At that time, it was 7-3, and it just felt like the air went out of the sails on both sides of the ball for Kansas City.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, but here's the deal: we lost the game. Backup tackles, like it turns out, that was a big deal.
They were terrible.
Is it really that they're terrible, or that they were playing against a Super Bowl caliber team with a Super Bowl caliber front four, and they're backups for a reason?
Well, Austin Ritter is it Ritter? Austin Ritter? Ryder? I can't remember how you say his name, but he's on the Kansas City's offensive line. A few years ago, whenever Carolina played Denver, he was Carolina's offensive line guy, and Von Miller won the MVP. So, he's not very good, okay? They've talked about that. That was one of the things they've talked about even before Eric Fisher went out, is that guy was definitely a weakness on the offensive line. He could get beat up by some good defensive ends and some good linebackers.
So, a couple other things to note. Some of the catches that didn't happen been happening for us all season.
Oh, yeah, the Tyreek catch, he just dropped it in the end zone. Hit him right in the face mask.
Yep, absolutely. He had one right in his hands, and he was bent all over in a weird way. But for whatever reason, those
that's what made him good, is he made those catches.
Yeah, and Kelsey dropped a couple that hit his hands.
Kelsey had some good plays, not to jump ahead on that. There was a lot of plays on the offense that picked up and went well, and then they would just mess it up. It was just they would have a good 40-yard strike, and then they would go 3 and out, and then after that, Kelsey was one of the guys who seemed wanted to win the game. Him, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Mahomes were just doing everything they could, and Tyreek kinda, but he was just getting covered. He was getting double teamed all the time,
and that's where the win goes to the Bucs. Todd Bowles had that defense. That defense played us better than any other defense.
It was it was basically a cover 2. The Chiefs never showed the threat of the run, so they never dropped the safety down, and they just kept everybody in the backfield the whole time, and never gave any kind of help whatsoever to Patrick Mahomes trying to get the ball out.
A Patrick Mahomes that I don't feel even at the beginning of the game was fully 100%.
No, I think he was pretty good. He didn't look bad. I think that the problem was he kept getting hit, and he kept having to run a whole bunch on it. And the more he kept having to run on it, there was a next-gen stat thing that I seen that said that he ran a total of 497 yards before being sacked or throwing the football.
Yeah, that guy was running for his life
the whole game.
It seemed like every 2 or 3 plays, he was doing that, where he's running 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage, just running around. People were chasing him because we just had a leaky sieve of an offensive line.
The second drop pass, by the way, was to Pringle, and I can't believe Mahomes even threw the ball. He was sideways, being tackled and threw the ball, and he just missed it. It hit him right in the face mask again. But
at the end of the day, yes, there were things that happened that we wish didn't happen, but give the Tampa Bay Bucs all the credit. Give their quarterback some credit. He balled out and he got his. I said that last episode that he was going to get his. We just needed to get more, and we just didn't. It didn't happen. So kudos to the Bucs. They are the Super Bowl champions, and with all that being said, I'm very excited about next year and the Chiefs. This is not.
They have to be the favorites again in the AFC to win. So don't think that I'm abandoning them at all. Cause
no.
They're still a great team.
Looking forward to it. Unless there's some crazy trades or something like that, I figure the next time that we'll really talk football is around draft time. So
pretty much, unless there's a big trade or something, we might bring it up.
Exactly. So football done.
Done over.
For those of you that are not a big fan of our football rantings, you guys have to be just oh, thank Jesus.
It would have been great to go out here as champions, but oh well, next year.
Second place.
There's always next year.
Always next year.
There's always next year. You like Tyler's a Royals fan. Like for like 20 years, there's always next year.
Oh, I know.
About 50 games into a 162 game season, you guys were like, "We'll be better next year."
In 2014, we were so close, and then I didn't know if we'd ever get back, and then we were so good that next year we pretty much was the best team.
Yep. All right, so moving on, Tyler. What do you got, man? What's the hot new happenings?
Just go with the poll question.
You want to go with the poll question?
Yeah, let's go with that. That's kind of what I had going on.
I'm really excited about this. So we asked everybody on Facebook that follows Critically Unacclaimed, our profile and page. We asked them. I gave them 4 answers, and this was. I was not set up for the poll question. Rookie mistake, Brandon. Rookie mistake. So
I have to pull something up too. I had some notes on this.
There's something about child sports movies.
Yes, it was.
Of course. So, best children's sports movies pre-high school. Now, I write pre-high school, not like us being pre-high school. I just know there's so many great movies
like that are team
that are tied
movies.
into team sports that are happening in high school. So I wanted to avoid that.
So that would be like your Varsity Blues.
Well, Remember the Titans comes to mind, but Varsity Blues. I mean, there's so many.
We'll have to talk about that because
we can talk about that another. But I really wanted to go.
I don't know how Remember the Titans came to mind over Varsity Blues. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Remember the
Titans is an amazing movie. Oh my gosh, I don't even know you anymore.
Not a huge fan.
I don't even know you anymore.
It's good.
The reason that
Varsity Blues is a classic.
The reason I brought up the poll question was because the Mighty Ducks are getting a new show, and Amelia Estevez, Gordon Bombay himself, is going to play in this show. And so this brings back my childhood memories of watching the Mighty Ducks, and that was a big deal growing up. So I got to thinking about the best children's sports movies pre-high school, and the answers were The Sandlot, The Mighty Ducks, Little Giants, The Big Green, or write in an answer. And Sandlot won pretty convincingly.
Right, it's a classic.
Mighty Ducks came in second, pretty convincingly. In fact, I think there was only one person that voted for Little Giants and one person that voted for the Big Green. There were several write-in votes. Angels in the Outfield, and so Angels in the Outfield, it's about a kid, but it is the Angel baseball team. Like, it's adults playing. So I as much as I liked that movie, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to count that one.
What was it rated?
It was rated PG.
It was rated PG, but I was looking for
you were looking for like kids playing sports.
Kids playing sports. I needed to define my terms a little bit.
I don't
better.
know. I think Angels Outfield. I don't know what other category that would go into. That's more of a child's movie. Like it's not like Varsity Blues is not really a child's movie. Remember the Titans is more suited for a younger audience as well.
But like, Remember the Titans is kind of about Denzel Washington's character just as much as
it's based off a true story.
And yes, ballers. So which is what I'll go back to, but I'm going to let Tyler get to his notes. I will say a couple of the other write-in votes that I did like. Rookie of the Year, which is basically every adult player playing except for one kid. But that, honestly...
But ain't the kid a teenager?
I don't know if he's in high school. No, he's like a 10 or 11-year-old. Like, yeah, he's still playing Little League. Bad News Bears was a big one that I actually missed.
Oh, yeah.
I just missed Bad News Bears.
See, Bad News Bears seems like it's more of like a Varsity Blues type movie.
Right, I agree with you there.
Like, because it's kind of funny, more of adult oriented.
Bad News Bears is like the essence of your question, Brandon. It is like a children's sports movie.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not a children's movie.
Which it doesn't have to be a children's movie. I mean, it's funny though. Rookie of the Year and. I just remember him like releasing his arm and punching the doctor in the face, and the doctor grabs his nose and goes, "Funky butt loving," and the kid goes, "Did you just say funky butt loving?" And I'll tell you, funky butt loving would not be in a children's movie today.
I don't think so.
That was a funnier saying then than it was now.
So the winner of that poll, you said, was the Sandlot.
Oh, by far. And I kind of knew that.
The second was the Mighty Ducks.
The Mighty Ducks, yes,
okay.
sir.
So I watched all the Mighty Ducks movies, D1 and D2. And I know there's a D3, but I just don't count it.
Gordon Bombay.
I might count it. I might watch it again, but I didn't like it when I seen it the first time. But there's some interesting things that I noticed, and one of the big ones was a lot of the same characters in the Sandlot play in the Mighty Ducks.
No, really? Like the actors?
Well, there's a few. There's two.
Okay,
and,
there's two.
So just kind of going through here real quick. The first one, and he was in all the Mighty Ducks movies, and I think he was in all the Mighty Ducks movies. He was in the first and second one for sure, and then he was also in the Sandlot, and he wasn't in the third one. That's Brandon Adams, and he played in the Sandlot. He was Kenny DeNunez, who was the pitcher.
Oh, okay.
And then he also was in the Mighty Ducks, and he was Jesse Hall, part of the Oreo line.
Oh, Jesse Hall.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the guy that invented Cake Eater.
Yes, he did invent Cake Eater.
Oh, well, okay. So I did not know that, so that's good.
And then the other one is the star of Mighty Ducks, the guy who played, or the star of the Sandlot. He's the guy who played Benny, which is the Jet. He was the guy who was real fast. I guess he ate the star. Smalls was kind of the one telling the story.
Yeah.
But the story was about,
Benny the Jet.
Benny the Jet. And that's Mike Viator. And he was also in D2 and D3. He wasn't in D1. He was Luis Mendoza.
He's the one that can't stop.
He's the skater who can't stop.
Benny the Jet was a fast skater too.
Yeah, he was fast in the Sandlot. He was fast there. I just rewatched those. I didn't notice that as a kid, but those guys all overlap. And then also the Sandlot also has the kid in that who played the Ham, the great Hambino.
He's in the Big Green.
He's in the Big Green.
He's the goalie.
Yeah,
yeah. No, I did know that.
Yeah.
That guy went on to do some terrible National Lampoon movies.
Yeah, he's I've seen a couple of the movies and they weren't that good.
Do you know what I so all of those aside, every single one of those that we named, the one thing that stands out to the Sandlot that doesn't stand out to me in any of the other movies is there are 0 plot points for the adults in that movie. Not really. The in Sandlot, the biggest
kids are the total stars of the show.
Yes, the kid and his dad, having a little bit of back and forth, and James Earl
stepdad.
Yeah, that's right. And then James Earl Jones.
A lot of big stars in the Sandlot. Like his dad is Dennis Leary.
Yeah,
and then James Earl Jones is the guy who owns Hercules the dog.
But all of the overarching plot points and all of the action on camera really is designed for the kids' story.
Yeah,
Mighty Ducks. Gordon Bombay's always got some sort of side plot. He's always got something that's going on. Little Giants was the same way. Basically every single one of these movies, the adults at some point steal the scenes or their plot points.
Well, Emilio Estevez is the star of the Mighty Ducks.
Exactly. So that's the point, right?
Yeah.
The Sandlot, it was for kids. It was all about kids, and I think that's why when you think about it as watching it as a child, you go back to that and go, "That was an amazing movie."
Can I say something you're not going to agree with?
Go ahead.
It's not a sports movie.
The Sandlot?
I watched it again. They baseball brings them all together.
Yeah.
There's very little bit in that movie about them playing baseball other than them trying to get the baseball.
You know what? I would have to agree with you because I like The Sandlot and I do not like sports movies.
So it's actually a kid, like a kind of adventure movie where they try all these different things to try to get this ball. It's kind of like an adventure type thing. They're trying to fight this giant beast. Yeah, no. And they're doing all these little crazy quirks to try to get this baseball. Can we at least
agree that the movie is baseball centric?
The theme is baseball centric. When I rewatched that movie, one of my favorite scenes is when Benny has that dream of Babe Ruth coming and telling him how he has to, basically he has to try to pickle the beast. He has to just jump over and outrun it. And as Babe Ruth's leaving, he looks over and he's got a card of it's a rookie card of Hank Aaron, and Babe Ruth's like, "Huh, hey, Henry Aaron. I don't know why, but can I keep this? And then he walks out. I thought that was pretty. Just so everybody knows, Henry Aaron's the guy who broke Babe Ruth's home run record, all-time home run
and
record.
if you ask my father, he still has the home run record because Barry Bonds is a
cheater.
Yeah. But that's just a 60 some odd year old man's perspective.
Right.
I know how old my dad is. I don't want to age him. So, but yeah, okay. So that's fucking nuts. The Sandlot is not a sports movie.
It is, but it's probably the least sports movie out of all those movies. Where the Mighty Ducks is definitely about hockey. They play a lot of hockey in those movies. Like they are definitely like they show a lot of game footage, a lot of going at it, and like my favorite D of the Mighty Ducks movies is D2. I don't know why. I think it's because that I was more of an age to where I appreciated those movies whenever it came out. It was probably I think it came out. When did it come out? Does anybody know off the top of their head?
No,
I think I got it.
I don't have that just in brain like enshrined in my brain. Okay, so Sandlot's not a sports movie. I'm going to tell you, I'm still going to raise it as the winner.
Yeah, no.
And I'm going to put Mighty Ducks at number 2. Mighty Ducks,
it was 94, and Sandlot came out in 93. The Mighty Ducks actually came out before all of them. I think it was 91 or 92.
Yeah, and I was 8 or 9 at the time when it came out. And a lot of our viewers probably weren't born yet. And they're watching it.
92 for the Mighty Ducks, the original,
yeah.
So I was 7.
Yeah, I was 7 as well. So you may be right. Like, and I do like D2. I just have a problem with not appreciating the
the
OG.
original.
Yeah.
I like the original. I think that their characters are better in D2. For instance, like Luis Mendoza, like I really like him as a character. He's one of my favorite characters. You also get the Bash Brothers in D2, which you didn't have in the first one.
The Bash Brothers.
They also were so bad of a team in the first one. They kept losing all the time. And it also, rewatching it, it makes no sense. They should have played the Hawks right off the bat because they were the last seed and the Hawks were the first seed. In any tournament that I've ever seen, you would always play the last team first. So like, how did they end up in the championship? I don't know.
Well, they also weren't they like 2-9-1 or something? Like they
they had.
It was like one team got like a measles outbreak or something,
and they had to forfeit the season.
Yeah,
and the last two all but the last two teams gets in.
Yeah,
and then they also like screwed over the system or like rules lawyered him and stole the kid from his team and brought him on his team, which is that Banks kid,
Connor Banks,
Adam Banks
Adam Banks.
Yeah, Adam Banks. He's the cake eater.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Adam Banks could straight play.
He was really good. Yeah, so they just went and stole this guy for the team. I was like, that's kind of a shitty move to do to little kids, like, to be honest with you. But yeah, you just went and stole the best player. Technically, you should have been on that team the whole time, but he wasn't. You just stole the best player off that team, put him on your team for the playoffs, and then you win the championship. Crazy how that works, ain't it? Man, Gord Bombay, the Miracle Man.
Mighty Ducks are the bad guys.
I think they could be. Right. Gordon Bombay, not that good a guy. No. In both movies, the D1 and D2, he always has they don't like him. Like, none of the kids like him, and then he does something, and then they like him again. And then in D2, he's like a complete dick, and he's like Captain Blood, and he's just like making them run their asses off and working them to death.
Yeah, because look, man, fame gets caught. He gets caught up with fame,
which is also ridiculous. The whole plot of that movie is like, how is a Pee-wee like? I didn't even know that there was Pee-wee hockey. Still don't even know that there's Pee-wee. Maybe it's a thing. I don't know. We're in Missouri. We don't get like frozen. I can tell you that
the games that they played in D2 were made up. What I don't even remember what they called
the Junior Goodwill games.
Yeah,
I just watched these movies, so I'm able to remember.
That's not a real games. And why is it just hockey?
And also, no joke. When they're playing the Iceland team in that movie, and I'm sitting here saying it's my favorite, and I'm calling it ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but the Iceland team. Bunch of 25-year-olds. Like, I don't understand. Like, they should not have won at all. Like, they're like twice their size. There's no way that they would win. It's like Iceland pro team versus kids.
Well, okay. Yeah, but they came together.
Yeah, ducks fly together.
And they brought in what is it? Keenan? Was it Keenan or Kel? They bring in the knuckle puck.
Oh, it's Kel. I don't know. But his name's something Tyler.
They learn
Russ Tyler, and yeah, he's got the knuckle puck.
Look, you learn how to play. All you have to do is get out of your comfort zone and go play in the inner streets.
Yeah.
And if you go and play in the inner streets,
rejuvenate you.
It will rejuvenate you, and they'll bring you closer to your center.
You'll be able to beat a team of 25-year-old giant Icelandmen.
I can tell you right now.
There's a bunch of 14-year-old kids.
No, this happened. This is not the first time this has happened. This happens a lot. I will tell you that the movie. You remember the movie Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg?
Oh yeah,
it's a basketball movie. She drops off her star player who's just sticking his nose up and won't pass the ball. Just drops him off in the inner city. He goes and plays basketball for an afternoon, and then they call his mama, and all of a sudden he's the MVP.
Yeah, he's
the MVP. Like this happens.
Man, that's a good movie, and I haven't seen that in a long time. That's one of Whoopi Goldberg's real underestimated, underappreciated movie.
Well, yeah, no, I agree that it is a good movie.
Everybody brings up Sister Act, and I did like Sister Act 1 was good, but I don't like Sister Act 2. I don't know, enough of Whoopi Goldberg movies. We might have to talk about that. Let us know if you want us to talk about some Whoopi Goldberg movies.
We are going to get 0 clicks on that.
Nobody's gonna bring that.
You're like Whoopi Goldberg, the chick from The View.
Yes, yeah, she actually was an actress. She did some things, but oh man. What else you got, Brandon? I know you've been scheming up some stuff.
So, I read something the other day that the unemployment is not dropping. So all of this, like everything was going to be fixed when Biden became president, that turned out to be false. Coronavirus is still very much a thing. Jobs are trickling back, but I think I read 49,000 last month, which was way under what they needed. So unemployment is like really, really, really high.
And let's get something straight real quick on this. Like, it takes a lot longer than like 3 weeks to get anything done.
No, agreed.
Like, so
like the fact that I'm by no means blaming Joe Biden about the job crisis. I read something the pandemic is what did that. And having to argue that the pandemic's real is annoying.
I read an article the other day about these oil workers who worked on the pipeline. What's that pipeline that they closed down? The
Keystone.
The Keystone pipeline. And they said that they were out of work and they felt like they were left behind by this administration. And I'm like, it's been 3 fucking weeks, guys. Like, they ain't even got all the shit set up yet, like, on what they're doing. Like, give them 2 months before you feel left behind. Okay?
I believe some of those talking points were made before the election even happened.
Oh, I'm sure.
They were like, this is what we're going to say if this motherfucker wins. But with that being said, so I talk about it at my job. I am a manager. I do interviews, right? And there are a lot of people that are out of work that have had work for 15, 20 years in their industry. And so they've been with that same company. And that is great. And that is loyalty. However, what I'm finding is there's people that are coming to me for interviews, and it's super interesting because on paper, the resume, it's fantastic. And it's like, oh man, you made it all the way to management. You worked through, you did everything you were supposed to. And then they start the interview process. And they are nervous. They are not. I mean, they're some of the worst interviews that I've had of recent. And
these are people who's like been successful at other jobs.
These are people that are giving interviews most of the time,
right.
not actually having to interview for an entry-level job.
So they've worked at their previous job for a few years, and they've been kind of in that, like, your position for quite a while.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they go to interview, and it turns out that interviewing is not like riding a bike. And if you haven't really interviewed for 15 to 20 years, like, a lot has changed in the interview process in the last 15 to 20 years.
I've kind of noticed that. I've been doing some interviews trying to find a little bit better paying job, and I haven't been real successful. I've been told several times that it was between me and another guy, and the other guy got it. Like, I've always been like the second guy, and I've got that since really right before the coronavirus broke. That's when that's kind of when I started getting turned down from jobs. So I feel like that kind of has a little bit to do with it. But in the end, I'm interested in what you're going to say, because I could use some of this advice. I feel like it can help out.
And I don't. We could go all day on advice that I'd have for giving interviews. But for one, out loud, don't tell me that you're nervous. Like it doesn't do anything. Like I still, like, I have to, as an interviewer, I have to separate things that don't affect everyone. Mm-hmm. So I understand that you haven't had an interview 15 to 20 years, but I'm not going to take that into effect in your interview. And here's why. Because on the opposite spectrum, I have people that work for me that are interviewing for these jobs that I actually know and have a base knowledge of their work and who they are as people. And I try not to take that into effect whenever I'm interviewing people, which a lot of people are like, well, it's crazy. But like, that gives anyone that's an internal an unfair advantage or an unfair disadvantage, depending on who you are as a worker. But with that being said, I got to take that out. Like it's got to be in a vacuum. An interview has to be in a vacuum, and you have all the ability to give a good first impression or a bad one.
So just a kind of a question on that. If somebody who's not a very good worker, they call in or they show up late every once in a while, but they do their job and they hit all their numbers per se, and they interview for a position, and they do a really good job in the interview, better than somebody who comes in all the time and is, working their ass off every day. Do you not consider that? Do you not take in like what they do?
No, that's a really good question, because it kind of goes against everything that I just said. So when I say I can't take their body of work, I apologize. That's not necessarily true. What I can't take is their internal knowledge of what's going on. So like I shouldn't take into effect that I'm going to make up a hypothetical, because I don't want to give away where I work. But let's say that I'm working at like Walmart, right? And Walmart does something a certain way. I don't want to take into effect that they already know some of the nomenclature and some of the things that we talk about and some of the things that we do on a weekly basis. Like, I don't need them to regurgitate what I tell them in weekly meetings back to me as a point of, this is why I'm better than someone else. Because the fact is I could tell you those things, Tyler. In fact, sometimes when I'm annoyed, I do tell you those things. And you would know just as much, right? So I can't take that. Just because you don't know the stuff that's behind the curtain doesn't mean that you wouldn't be better suited for the job than someone that has an idea.
Knows. Okay.
Right. So let me backtrack just a little bit.
So your work ethic
if their work ethic, if they show up to work on time and they're working hard and they do the right things and they hit their their metrics, fantastic. I am going to take that into account. In fact, the fact that I'm interviewing them probably means they've done something right. But some of the other things that no one else off the street would know, yeah, I can't take that into account, because there's someone else somewhere else, that's someone that's working for Target that's doing the exact same things, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't call them the same thing, or we don't do them on certain days. So I have to make sure I got to separate those. But then you get people that are completely... they're just completely, they don't know. They don't know what's going on. And I see this, we do a lot of seasonal hiring where I'm at, and some of these people, this is their first job, their first interview, or maybe their second job.
You get a lot of younger, are they younger?
Some of them are younger, some of them are older, but sometimes it doesn't go particularly well, which is why I really wanted to bring up this segment.
Yeah.
As much as I want to talk and help people get a job, I think some of this stuff should just be, what shouldn't you do? So I'm going to give you guys a story about an interview that did not go particularly the way as planned. So whenever you're in a big box retail, you have seasonal hiring, right?
Right.
That's the season's either spring or it's Christmas, but usually you do some sort of hiring event, right? And that hiring event, basically you just walk in and you get an interview, correct?
Right.
Well, so we were doing that, and I was one of the managers that it was tasked to doing these hiring events. And so at this point, a gentleman walks in, And I try not to make any judgment based on what they're wearing. I mean, it's hard not to sometimes. But he comes in and he looks like a dude, right? Like nothing crazy or special about him. So at this point, I've done 8 interviews, I think, and he comes in, and I've answered some of the, like, most people have almost the same questions. So I go in and I say, hey, okay, so there's only 5 questions in this interview. It's storytelling time, okay? And so I'm going to say, tell me about a time when, or tell me what you do if, and you just give me a story, right? And so a lot of people do not have work background to fill in the blanks for some of these stories. And so I get asked all the time, like, does it have to be work related, or can I bring it up at, like, with school or church? And I tell them, yeah, like anything that's relevant to the question you can ask. So I get the guy sat down, we do a little back and forth, I explain who I am, explain the company and the job. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'd really like to work here. Okay, great. That's amazing. So I'm going to start with the questions if you're ready. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, but first, the answers, do they have to be? And I'm like, no, you can just, tell me about anything. And he's like, real. His full question, I answered the question before he got done. His full question was, do they have to be real? Like real answers. And at this point I'd already told him no, like it's fine. And I didn't backtrack. Like I said, I was 8 or 9 interviews in, and honestly, I could use a little bit of entertainment. So I just asked him the first question. And I'm like, tell me about a time that you were part of a team and you achieved something. And this guy, who's maybe 18 or 19 years old, proceeds to tell me about him being on a convoy in Iraq. And he gets into it. He goes, we're 3 clicks south from the destination. We've got enemy fire coming from all sides. We're instantly exited the Humvee. I'm like, why'd you exit the Humvee? He's like, because the gunner was shot. And I'm like, whoa, this got big. This got big. And he's like, we're returning fire. I'm contact left. It's contact right. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so he's like, we jump in the Humvees and we drive off and I hold my buddy's arm. And I'm like, holy crap. And I was like, this isn't real. And he's like, no, of course not. And so
oh my God.
I'm just like, why on God's green earth would you think that I don't want to hear?
Wait, finish the story. What happened with him and the Humvees? Like,
so he makes it. He makes it and everyone lives.
Okay.
He makes it and everyone lives. But
except for the gunner.
Yeah, the gunner's gone. I don't know.
Well, the gunner, he was just shot.
They were in a convoy of like 1 car. And the thing is I've got my veteran badge on my vest, right?
Yeah, that's kind of a faux pas, right?
Like, I'm like listening to it and I'm just like, this is not happening.
But you can't say it's stolen valor because he said it wasn't going to be real.
No, he told me it was fake from the get-go. But so
it's very
after the first question, I score the first question. I look at him and I go, okay, so I misspoke. The answers have to be real. And he looks at me, no shit, and says, how real? And I was like, preferably all real. And he's like, okay. So, I
don't think this guy really wanted this job.
Well,
I don't think that guy was part of this reality.
This guy was not part of this reality. Second note, I have no problem with anybody that plays Dungeons and Dragons. I play Magic the Gathering on occasion. I like my video games. Where's my inhaler? Like I have nerd stuff. I love comic book movies. The whole reason we're doing this podcast is because they started making comic book movies, and that's what we wanted to podcast about. I'm a
big nerd too. Don't think
no. So we got a couple nerds. Okay. With that being said, if somebody says, tell me about a time when you achieved a goal in a team dynamic or something where you have broke through and stayed motivated even though the work was somewhat repetitive and tedious. You do not tell me about the time that you and your 2 buddies were fighting an ogre. And like he's like, yeah, it's me and my buddy Paul and Chris. and we were fighting this frost ogre, and he's like, which is totally unfair because we were way over leveled and like not a big deal. But it turns out this frost ogre had like super strength or something. This is a real answer.
I was gonna say, like, it could be very tedious, and
It could be very he was
but if he's over leveled and he's just like smashing some noobs, definitely come on, guy.
Yeah, he basically was talking about how the DM was being way ridiculous, and that this frost ogre was way OP for what a frost ogre really is, and that they should have been able to take care of him, but they couldn't, and it sucked because their healer was his girlfriend, and his girlfriend didn't really know how to play, and so she wasn't keeping up, and like this.
Well, I think that's a perfect answer for an interview. It gives you a really good idea of.
No,
he's
Grayson.
a bad team player. He blames all of the problems on the rest of the team and thinks that he's doing everything right.
Well, one of the biggest things was I guess they had a cleric that didn't show up because his mom wouldn't let him come over or something. Like, but I know all of this. Why do I know all of this? Because he brought it up in the interview.
Right.
He brought it right up in the interview. That was like question 3. By the way, I didn't get to question 4 or 5. Like, I at that point, I had to stop. Here's the deal. I was trying desperately not to laugh because I could tell that the kid was serious and he thought that these were the right answers. And they were not for me. You
said he was 19?
He was 18 or 19, yeah.
Huh, wow, he must have been really sheltered.
Yeah, I mean, do we teach people how to interview in high school?
No.
You actually have to be very proactive to go out there and like learn how to do an interview.
And I mean, to be fair, he may have been the only references he had to any of the questions that you were giving. Like the first one seems ridiculous because he just made up a story about being.
How quickly he made it up on the spot! Like
he probably
I wrote later,
I
was like, I mean, he thinks quick on his feet. I mean, he made that up super fast.
You put that in his hiring notes.
Like, I'll tell you what, like if he wanted to come on the podcast and tell us some stories, like I would be down for that.
Dude, but I hope this guy hears this and is like, yeah, I'll come on. That would be sick.
We were sitting there. This is about 10 years ago. Oh, God. No, I'm about to date myself. This is about 12 years ago, I guess. But we were sitting there, and it was me and a buddy. I was an assistant manager over at a cell phone store, and a guy that's a pretty close friend of mine, Kyler, he was the manager, and we'd do side-by-side interviews sometimes. And we were doing an interview, and a guy came in. He was not dressed for the part. It was a sales position. This is not a big box retail store. Like, we had like 8 different salespeople, right? But these salespeople could make decent money. It was a commission-based sales job, and so that was in another life for me.
He just come in looking like a.
He kind of came in looking like a scrub. He had some he had sandals on with socks. I remember that.
Oh yeah,
he had some khakis that were obviously not his because they were
just real quick.
Yeah,
sandals and socks definitely not the right move for an interview. Definitely never the right move. Period.
No, like, I don't think
you could wear slides with some socks if you're like going to the gas station or got to run to Walmart, but not to an interview.
This is before Crocs, but I've never interviewed I've never interviewed anyone that's wore Crocs to an interview. Like I've never hired anyone.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah, it was definitely bold. So the khakis weren't his. You could tell that because they were about 4 inches too short. Yeah. And he just had a white T-shirt on. So, like, okay, this is going to be a weird interview, right? So he comes in.
kind of dressed like a... It seems like you're... Like, I'm just pictured like somebody from, like, those, like, old-school Asian movies. You know, the white shirt, black pants out there, socks on with, like, sandals on.
Well, unfortunately, picture Grayson in khakis with a white T-shirt and socks and sandals with his socks all the way up so that you can't see a little bit of skin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it the best they got, though? Do you think that they maybe had a better outfit?
No, maybe not. But that actually comes full circle around. So he shows up an hour and a half before the interview. Which I understand showing up early, but he showed up an hour and a half early. Now,
maybe it was the bus.
Come to find out, he had a buddy that dropped him off, and this was the only time that he could get dropped off, which is fine. You go to anywhere that's around there. There was like a Wendy's. There was a bunch of different stuff. This story is brought to you by Wendy's. Eat great, eat late. But I'm gonna make sponsors. No, there was a Wendy's, there was a coffee shop. He could have went anywhere and hung out for an hour, and maybe he didn't have any money, and that's fine too. You can still like not go into the place. So he goes into the place.
I'm sure there's probably other little areas around you. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Or he could just go and sit down. Like he could go and sit down and say, "I'm here for an interview. I'm super early. I'm just going to sit here," and he could just sit there. But he didn't. No, this guy starts talking to customers, I guess to show us his sales acumen before the interview. Starts talking to customers about phones. Basically pretending like he worked there. Not a good start. Not a good start.
Well, hold on. Like, did he do good?
No, he was not.
Okay. You got to finish it.
If you're gonna have such a bold strategy, be good and know the content.
Can I
know your
tell
product knowledge.
I'm a really good salesperson. I think you would vouch for me on this.
Yeah,
I'm a pretty good sales guy. And one time, I actually got requested to come to an interview from a guy. I was working at a home improvement store, and he's like, you should come. To this interview, he's like, I think you'd be really good at this, and it was selling billboard advertisement for a company here in town. And I was like, okay, and that's all he's told me. So I was like, okay, cool. And so I show up, and I'm wearing like a nice like shirt, it's like a polo button up. Like I had really nice jeans on,
sandals, really nice jeans.
I did have jeans on. I had boots on,
but they were really nice.
I was literally 19 years old and was working in a lumber yard. So, I didn't have nice clothes.
No, and this is like you were working in a place that allowed you to wear jeans. So to you, the jeans were business casual. I wear jeans every day.
I had no idea. Like I'll be real honest. Like I thought I'd look nice. Like I really did because I literally had on my nicest clothes.
Right.
And I was pretty young, you know. And anyway, I get in there and I told him when I sit down, I was like, sorry, I didn't have any slacks. I was like, I looked all over for some and I didn't have any. And he's like, oh, that's all right. And so we did the interview, and then after the interview, he basically said, he's like, you did a good job, but he's like, you have to be in a suit and tie to sell billboard advertisements.
He did the interview?
Yeah, and I was like, huh. I was like, dude, you asked me to come up. I wish you would have mentioned that. I may have, tried a little bit harder to do that. I went and got a suit and tie. I was like, I don't own one. And he's like, next time, you'll know.
See, that's the difference. I know that I'm making fun.
Give me my resume back. And I took it back and I walked out.
I know that I'm making fun of people that were showing up to work or to interviews. Still, that was pretentious. That was ridiculous. You still interview. You interview the person, right? And then if they get the job, you tell them what the.
That's what I thought. You could at least especially because I even apologized and said I didn't have any khakis.
If you came in jorts and a t-shirt that said just relax, Frankie, or whatever the fuck that is. Frankie says relax. I get it. But you made an effort and you could tell. Because when he saw you in your natural habitat, you weren't dressed that nice.
No, I did. I probably had I probably was dressed similarly the same. Because I wore a polo and jeans and boots there. But again, I worked in a lumber yard, so it was I was dirty and everything else, and my hair was all messed up. And
was the guy wearing a suit in the interview? Was he wearing a suit?
Yes.
When he interviewed you? Nah.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, yeah, that was your.
But when I seen him, he didn't have a suit on. It was on the weekend. He just had jeans and a polo on.
Yeah, that guy set you up. That guy set you up for failure. That's not right.
He literally bought something from the store, and I was talking to him, and that's when he told me to come up there. And so fuck that guy. I probably would have done a lot really good for you and made you a lot of money. But
yeah, because billboards is a real boom in advertising now.
Seems like it's still pretty good. I don't know, but there's still billboards. Tell you that they ain't went anywhere.
Well, so this kid that comes in, he starts trying to sell cell phones to people, and my salespeople are like, what the hell is this kid doing? So finally, we do the interview 45 minutes early. We're like, hey man, why don't you just come on back? So he comes and he sits down, and we're like, hey, I'm so and so, he's so and so, this is what we do. And he looks at us and he goes, all right, I'm just gonna level with you guys. I really need this job. And I was like, oh well, that's great. That's why we're here, right? That's why you got the interview. And he's like, no, I really need this job. He's like, you don't understand. I have to get money. And I was like, well, you can make good money here. I'm trying to be professional, right. But at this point, I'm about to break down. And so he looks at me and he goes, my girlfriend and me broke up. And I was like, this is a good start.
Yeah.
He goes, my girlfriend, but she still lives with me. And I'm like, that's got to be rough, right? Like, I'm just like, I don't know where this is going.
Yeah.
He's like, I need money so she'll respect me. And I'm like, respect you? What? And he's like, well, she started dating someone else, but she lives with you. Well, she lives with me and my mom. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, what are you? He's like, I need the money. If I get money, then she'll respect me again. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, so you understand why I need the job? And I'm like, yeah.
You're not going to get it. But
yeah, no shit. Like, okay, here we go. So I start to ask the first question, and
that's definitely something you don't want to do in an interview, is bring up your personal drama, because nobody likes that in the workplace. Nobody wants to hear about your personal problems.
No, not at all. Like, nobody wants to hear that your girlfriend just broke up with you, that lives with you and your mom, but she started dating someone else, and you literally are just getting a job to get money, to get respect.
That seems like somebody who is going to show up late, going to have a lot of trouble, not going to not show up sometimes because something crazy happened.
Tyler, if he's telling me this, then he's probably already told customers this.
Oh, yeah.
like, there's someone over there with like a Samsung S3 in his hand that's just like, I don't know if I want this phone or if I want to put a $5 in this kid's cup. Like, I don't know what's going on.
The kid's trying to sell him this S3, and he's like, yeah, I really need this job. You need to buy this so I can get respect from my girlfriend.
He thought she still had feelings for him. And that she thought if he showed initiative to get a job, then this would... And that's fine. You can do that. That's a noble thing. Get a job.
So really,
but don't tell your interviewer right in the first thing. And then the first question happened. And he's like, well, let me tell you about this ring. And he holds up his hand. And it's a Green Lantern ring. And he's like, this ring means everything to me. This stands for willpower. And I was like, yeah, dude, I like Green Lantern too. And he's like, it's not just a comic book to me. It's my way of life. And I'm like, oh, okay.
This is explaining a lot on why he's just like going head first.
But I'm trying, and I'm like, tell me more about that. And so he starts telling me about how he charges it on his Green Lantern every day, and that's how he keeps going. And even when times are in their darkest, like, he can just look at the ring and know that the day, another day will shine brighter, and he just keeps going. And I'm like, I'm 23, baby, 24.
How old is this kid?
I don't know.
You think he's older than you at this time?
No, he's probably my age. But I have to excuse myself. I just, like, it's me and Kyler both doing the interview, so I just have to excuse myself.
What do you do? What do Kyler do?
Kyler just kept doing the interview, and he made it through the questions. I walked out, and I'm not proud of it, but I just busted up laughing. I couldn't
Did he hear you?
myself.
Do you think he heard you?
No, I know he heard me. So Kyler comes out, and he's like, thanks for abandoning me. And I was like, well, they needed me out on the floor. He's like, dude, the walls aren't that thick. We could hear you laughing uncontrollably for what felt like 3 minutes. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, man. Like, I tried to keep it together. But the thing was,
I wish I knew how the rest of the interview went. I wish he would.
Well, we might have to get Kyler onto the podcast to finish it up. But he said it didn't get any better. I will say that it was another hour and a half before he got picked back up.
Yeah.
And he sat there and tried to talk to customers again. Finally, we just told him he had to go wait outside. Like, he had to go outside. And I was like, you don't work here. Like, you have to stop, like, welcoming customers into the store. Footnote to all of this.
It seems like he was a go-getter. Like, there could have been some redeemable qualities with this guy.
Stop it, Tyler. So I will say this.
What if he would have gave that guy some direction and some help?
We re-looked at his resume afterwards, and I was like, what planet does he say he hails from? And we go through, and most of the time as an interviewer or as a manager, you do go through those resumes, and we don't check the references very often, but we do look at the past body of work, right? And then Kyler just goes, oh, that makes sense, and he hands me the resume, and I'm like, oh, what is it? And he goes, look at his other, it was like what am I looking for?
Experience?
Not other experience, but his other skills.
Okay.
And right there, he had one thing. He was a level 90 gnome warlock in World of Warcraft. And had completed, and he listed like 4 or 5 different, I assume, quests that he had completed and the loot that he had achieved. And that was his entire other skills.
I don't know. I've never played World of Warcraft. That may be really fucking impressive.
It might be in some circles.
Yeah,
Probably not in like the cell phone sales circle, but hey, it could
there's
be.
a lot of teamwork, lots of coordination, and all of that to get there. The loot thing, that's random number generating Jesus.
So you guys might think that I'm just airing dirty laundry for these 2 like just terrible interviews. But what I'm trying to get to and what I'm coming all full circle is, for those of you that are out of work for the first time in 15 to 20 years, or out of work because of the pandemic and haven't had to interview for a bunch of different years, yes, absolutely, I would love to individually help you guys out. But what I do need to tell you is, don't be nervous. I'm not the only one that has stories like this. You were not the worst interview that these guys have come encounter with. Like that's the fact of the matter is that whatever you think you're saying that you think is like terrible in an interview, it can't be worse than what some of these guys have had to deal with. Just move on. Don't tell them you're nervous, and just come out as strong as you possibly can. And I wish you the best of luck. That's to tie it all back.
Hey, I got some good advice for an interview.
Okay,
tell
go
me
ahead.
if you think that, and I think you may have gave me this advice.
Okay.
But I'm going to tie this into movies, because one of the things that we've always
Because
done,
you always do.
is like, we kind of base a lot of the things in life off of movies, and there's always a good movie clip for whatever situation you're in. This one is, you guys seen Reservoir Dogs?
Of course.
Okay. Do you know the story where he has to, as a cop, he has to Tim Roth's character has to learn the story about which is a fantastic story. You should go watch it. He has to learn the story about this crazy event where he ran into some police officers, and he had to make it real, and he had to keep telling the story over and over again and make it real and learn it, right? So my advice is, do that for interview questions. You pretty much know what the interview questions are going to be just about everywhere you go, right? I've had some crazy ones that were completely off the wall questions. He had like 30 of them. I can't help you there. The normal interviews that are like 4 or 5 questions, like about teamwork.
Average question in a full-time position is about 8 to 12.
And they're going to ask you stuff about previous work experience in your past and questions like that. Figure out those questions, practice them, and learn them, and get good at telling them. Because the better confidence you have telling the story, whether it be real or not, if it's not real and you exaggerate a lot, or if it's just like, maybe it was like happened to your friend and you're just using it, they don't know that. But if you say it with confidence and you say it good, it'll look good in the interview. Is that not right, Brandon?
Yeah, I don't want to go out and tell everybody to make up stories.
Well,
but
you may have to.
Here's the deal.
Hold on. It's not making up stories.
Okay.
It's like you take it like something that may not be that big of a deal that you did at work.
Yeah.
And you embellish it.
Okay, I'll give you that.
And then you practice that embellishment, and you get really good at telling it. So you say it with confidence, and you speak really well when you're telling it.
You need to rehearse the stories. That's for sure. I will tell you that there are things that people. So 2 things. One, there is stuff that everyone has done that they should be proud of, like when they're working, right? Everybody's got stories. For whatever reason, it doesn't come to mind. 2, people are their own worst critics. Sometimes people will do something that honestly is truly amazing, but they don't look at it that way. And so, depending on the story that you tell and how you say it, like, you have to set the scene.
Yeah.
And you have to talk about it as though this was a major accomplishment.
Yes, whether it wasn't or not, like it may be something little that you did at work. Maybe they had you do a project, and the project was only a day. Take that and say that you led a project, a successful team project leading 3 or 4 people, even though it was only a day.
Yeah.
They don't know that, and you led this project, whether it be like, I don't know, something in IT or whatever, I don't know. But, you did that, and you ran that project, and you completed that task, and it ran super efficiently, and you got told how good you were at doing it. And but even if it's just like a day worth thing, like run with it. Make it sound great.
Don't hold back. There's a lot of companies that have different, like if you're on the safety team where you work and you're on the freaking safety team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's a big deal. Or if you're on
the place where we used to work, where they had a bunch of made up positions.
Yeah, no, they had in the cell phone world, we had the accessories champion.
Oh,
that was a big one.
There was nothing to it, but like if you were like, you could say that you were accessories champion, and all it means was you stock some accessories. I don't even know. You in the meeting you learned about an accessory.
Yeah, you would. But the thing is there's a big difference between saying I was the accessories champion. Like I would talk about some accessories. I would try to help salespeople with their accessory sales.
Instead,
and like I was pretty good at selling accessories. Or
you're the accessories champion, and you would get all the new stuff, and you'd run out and do demonstrations to all the reps and let them know exactly how this thing worked. And if they had any questions, you would be able to answer any question about any accessory, and you knew all about how they pair up and how everything works. And you're just a master of accessories.
Yeah, that was like, this was my bread and butter. I did this because I was the best at it.
You never even mentioned that you stocked accessories. You only are the master of accessories.
And every week I would do basically an expose where I would demonstrate these to the salespeople,
to all the
and it would generate sales. And then you pick one and you go in particular.
If it's a sales job, talk about how it did generate sales. Like that's the other thing. But anyway, I like that, Brandon. I think that might help some people. Like,
I don't know that it'll help some people, but there's definitely some people that are laughing, and hopefully the two people that I'm talking about didn't. Maybe they're not one of our dozens of listeners.
Hey, especially the second guy, the Green Lantern guy. If that guy wants to come on the pod, I would like to have that guy on the pod.
That guy,
I think that guy might have some go-getter, just go out there. That takes a lot of guts to go in there and just start trying to sell cell phones when you don't know shit about selling
10
anything.
to 12 years ago, this guy is now in his mid-30s like myself, and I would like to think that he grew out of it, and I hope he's doing extraordinarily well.
I hope he's like selling all sorts of shit. He's got all the money and all the respect from his girlfriend.
And as for the other guy, I hope that him and his girlfriend and his two friends and the cleric's mom let him play, and they took down that ice ogre.
I hope so.
I hope that happened.
I hope he's still. I hope he ain't still playing World of Warcraft, because I hear that game's gone downhill in the last 20 years. But anyway, all right, moving on. So with I think it's the last thing we got is some WandaVision action. Episode 5 of WandaVision. Do you have anything else before we get to WandaVision?
No, let's do some WandaVision.
Awesome. So we got some spoilers ahead for the next 10 minutes or so. If you haven't been watching WandaVision, you may want to be very conscious that we're going to talk some spoilers.
Fast forward about 10 minutes.
Here we go. WandaVision. So episode 5, it's in the 80s. It looked like it was set in the early 80s. This episode, right?
No, it was definitely some Full House 80s vibes.
I got Who's the Boss?
Yeah,
is what I was getting that too. Or Family Matters.
Yeah.
Was that 80s or 90s?
No, it was 80s. Well, it was 80s and 90s, but it was definitely a late 80s, step by step,
That's what it felt like.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So that's the world that we're in now. Moving quickly.
Yeah, the kids are growing up. They're already teenagers at this point.
Whoa. They were babies.
And
then they were 5 years old.
And then they were 10 years old.
Yeah, but
because they got to keep.
But there was something that happened. Yeah, they had to keep a puppy. That's right. Yeah. They said, "Well, you can't have a puppy until you're 10," and then they just became 10.
Yeah. So that's really weird.
I don't know if that's how that works.
I don't think that's how that works either.
Not in the normal world.
No.
Also, it was also pretty crazy with the. They talked to Wanda in this one.
They did, they broke the fourth wall.
Yeah.
With Wanda. They talked about do you want to try this take again, because Vision seemed to interrupt it.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple things happened that really tested Wanda in this, and it really shows kind of what we theorized last week, that she's kind of the bad guy of the episode, because they got the drone in there, and then they were trying to talk to her, but then the douchebag sword guy just shot all the missiles at him, and basically that didn't work. And then she comes dragging out the drone and throws it back at him, and was basically stay the hell out of here and just leave me alone. This is mine, and you ain't gonna do nothing about it.
Did we totally miss that Rambo is Captain Marvel's
it's
buddy?
the little girl.
It's the little girl.
Yeah, it's from Captain Marvel.
Yeah, but like I totally missed that until this
okay.
episode.
Yeah.
There was a bit of dialogue. I think you heard Captain Marvel's voice maybe in that first episode. Also, with that drone they sent in, because they talked about if they had something period specific, it wouldn't change.
It wouldn't change.
And so they brought up, they had that drone from the 80s and they threw in there and it didn't change. I found that super duper fascinating.
I did too.
Yeah, no,
it didn't. She wasn't able to manipulate it, which was weird.
I don't understand.
I don't know that it was that she couldn't manipulate it,
Or it just didn't need a change in the reality.
But it could go through the
manipulation.
Yes, the force field and still be
that makes
available.
Sense.
Like
right.
that it wasn't like Wanda took care of it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't that. It was just it wouldn't fly like on her radar,
right?
As long as it matched the time frame that they were in the episode.
Perfect sense.
Okay,
it's like becoming aware of a dream.
So Vision kind of is figuring out that shit ain't right, and like him and Wanda kind of go to a little bit of blows, a little bit, right?
That was sweet when they both jumped up off
Vision, one of Vision's coworkers, like.
Oh yeah, he was able to break that.
Yes,
when the whole
he was in an intense amount of pain.
Yeah, the sword email.
That was pretty cool. I love that the hive mind. Everybody reads in unison. That was so cool. Really enjoyed that part.
And then they laugh because it was a joke. Because like, what would that be about?
Yeah, it's very interesting on what they're going and where they're going with this show. Do you think Vision's going to still be alive at the end of this?
She stole his body for a reason. I don't know where his actual body is, or if he's in his body. And like I don't know what that is.
They seem to talk about once Wanda manipulates something, it's forever manipulated. Kind of like when Rambeau got flung out of the bubble. Her clothes stayed changed. Like all of those things came with her. Like same thing with the X-ray. Monica Rambeau's X-ray was completely whited out. Like somehow Wanda's change stayed even outside of the bubble.
Yeah, and
so maybe that's the case.
Her clothes were made.
What do you mean? Like I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, so
where when she took the X-ray, she didn't have it was all whited out on the inside. You know, they had some. They also wanted to do a blood test again. What were they getting on with that? Did it change her like?
Well, I don't know that we can speak to that, but the clothes that she came out of, you can tell that she's transforming matter.
Yeah,
like you can't destroy matter
because her pants were bulletproof. Right?
Yeah, no, her entire outfit was made of some Kevlar because she was wearing Kevlar when she went in, and so basically it's some sort of a transmutation.
So she
talking
is
about alchemy.
So do you guys know who Monica Rambeau is?
No.
Okay, Monica Rambeau is a Captain Marvel. She's in Marvel Universe. She has abilities and powers. Is this how she gets them?
No, I don't think we're gonna.
Is this the start of her getting them? Maybe that's what I was wondering when it showed the inside of her white.
Because that's what anything that would block out an X-ray would be some type of powerful radiation.
Right.
That was my own.
It
to appear brighter on an X-ray than the light source of an X-ray implies some type of
power.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, the
microwave or
energy of.
Was she wearing her clothes when they took the X-ray?
No.
Okay.
It's on Disney. They don't show that.
Well, no, I just meant because Kevlar, like you wear a lead vest.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. That was that part really stuck out to me. So I was kind of wondering about that.
So then Vision comes back and shit hits the fan, and they're about to go to blows. And then there was a ding dong at the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
That may have been the biggest part of the episode, right?
Yeah, I kind of almost forgot about it. Yeah,
I was geeking out.
Yeah, no joke. So
it's Quicksilver.
It's Quicksilver, but it's Quicksilver from the
Fox X-Men universe.
I know. And then Kat Dennings looks up and goes, "Oh my gosh, she recasted Pietro."
But it is Pietro.
It is.
But it's from the X-Men universe. What the hell is going on? Is this going to be... Are they going to try to bring in the X-Men from there to the Marvel universe? I hope not.
I don't know, because that's been one of the things I read online was the repeating of the M motif. Lots of things create an M pattern, and so that they're implying that some sort of House of M event will happen.
So in House of M, for people who don't know, this is where she kind of controls is controlling everything, mutants and everything, and she's kind of got like a royal family, which is the House of M. It's the House of Magneto, where he's like the king, but it's actually Scarlet Witch who's controlling everything from behind the scenes. And then she actually speaks in that comic book, "No more mutants," and it wipes out pretty much all the mutants. There's only like about 300 left in existence after that happened.
So what if instead she says, "Bring on the mutants"?
We need more mutants or something.
Again, I don't know how they're gonna.
So
she's super powerful in the comic book. I don't know if maybe they're trying to show her level of abilities in here, because like you said, if it manifests in the reality, then it lives outside of the reality as well. I wonder if the kids are going to live outside of the reality.
Well, it's very possible. I don't know. I don't think there's enough information to make really, really good, accurate. You guys hit a couple things on the head, right? So far, this is definitely all Wanda. This is all. I
kind of thought that Hydra could have had something to do with it, but that didn't seem to be the case.
It turns out that I was right as well. Off podcast, I said that I thought that Rambo was a good guy.
Yeah,
she ended up being a good guy.
Yeah, she's a good guy.
Yeah, so that's
I knew
great.
She was, because I knew who Monica Rambeau was from the comics, so I kind of figured that.
But no, man. I mean, it's just the show is just straight bonkers. I still don't know whether I like the show, and we're like, what? We're 5 episodes in.
We have 3 episodes left.
I think it needs a good payoff, right?
Yeah. If there's 3 episodes left, that's roughly 90 minutes, so that's close to a movie's worth of time.
Yeah, we need a good payoff for this. I think that it's going to have something to do with going into the Doctor Strange movie. And I don't know what it is yet, but that would be really cool if they did have something that went into that.
What if they leave it open-ended and then it picks up in Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Did you see the Falcon and Winter Soldier
I watched
trailer?
that trailer. They look so polarly opposite. I don't understand how they could be connected. But wouldn't that be an amazing whodunit if the events that they're dealing with is the fallout from whatever happens with WandaVision?
A light bulb just went off in my brain.
I saw it. It looked painful.
So what if this is not correct? Because I don't know if you've seen the extended trailer, the one that they released during the Super Bowl. They also put the full trailer online for Falcon and Winter Soldier. It shows Zemo, and
I love that mask.
So what if he is Hydra now, and he is the one who's got Scarlet Witch?
If he's pulling the string,
and he is the one pulling it, maybe it does all lead back to Hydra, and then the Falcon and Winter Soldier have to go and try to save her.
Well, if Feige kills us all in our sleep tonight, we'll know that we were right.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's crazy. That could be how they could tie together. It wouldn't put it past Marvel to tie in all their shows. Hell, they tied in all their movies. Why wouldn't they tie in all their shows?
Do you think Hydra is going to continue to be a force of evil in the MCU? I feel like
I feel like they're the bad guys.
They're always the bad guys. Duh.
Yeah, well, they are always the bad guys. But the thing is even in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra played a prominent part throughout the entire show, but in the movieverse, Hydra's kind of a footnote at this point. Okay, we quashed Hydra was S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
They're not anymore, and now it's.
I don't think Hydra's really been brought up since Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
right?
And that was where they took out the last general of Hydra.
Yeah. I would love for Ultron to come back.
What if what is the motto of Hydra? And this is why it can keep going. You cut off one head and 2 more takes its place, right? So what if Zemo is now the new head of Hydra? Because he was in the comic book, and they haven't brought that up yet. So I could see something like that happening.
I do think they need to do that because the MCU needs another terrestrial threat. Right now, everybody's thinking about aliens and all the big monsters of the universe. But we need just some good old bad guys that are running weapons, and they're going to go blow up a submarine.
But you're going to get that, right?
After everybody comes back, I'm sure there's probably a lot of chaos going on, right, in the world after the snap, and then after everybody's brought back.
That 5-year period of the snap, organized crime would have been out of control.
And then you got there's 2 snaps that took place, and then
bringing everybody
back, and then killing Thanos and everybody. So,
but
like,
they are
with
bringing some really good villains into the MCU. Like, they're going to bring the X-Men into the MCU, right?
I hope they reboot them completely. I
Okay,
hope
well,
that's not a thing,
forget about that. Like, they're going to bring the X-Men.
Yes.
The characters,
I think
right?
Fantastic
Which
Four's
means
first.
they've got... Well, there you go. Doctor Doom's a hell of a villain. Doctor
Yeah.
Doom's a hell of a villain.
That's a good point, because he's honestly one of the better villains, too.
And honestly, the X-Men, I mean, yeah, of course, you've got that, like, eternal conflict with Magneto. But, guys... Mr. Sinister is a hell of a villain.
Sinister, and then Sinister could lead into Apocalypse.
Yes.
They cast an actor to play King the Conqueror.
Yeah, it's the dude from the HBO show that Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
They're talking about Kraven the Hunter being in the next Spider-Man movie.
Yep, I've heard
and
that.
then you've got, and obviously there's alien ties to this, but Carnage, that Venom Carnage movie looks amazing, and that is going to be an MCU movie as well.
I don't know. Is it an MCU movie? I know they're using Tom Holland, but I don't think that they have.
That's all.
I don't know. I think that's like right in that sweet spot. That
I don't know if it's been brought into the MCU yet, because it's a Sony movie.
And it very well might be a Sony movie for 95 minutes of movie, but I'm telling you guys, the payoff at the end is going to be something from the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the Venom. It might not be Tom Holland. It might not be Tom Holland, but there's going to be something that shows that it's in the same world. Like that okay. I'm sure you just can't make a comic book movie at this point using Marvel characters
and not include
the MCU.
Yeah,
it's just not. It doesn't go well.
Venom
Venom was okay.
See, I
thought Venom was a good movie.
Did you like it,
I
Grayson?
wasn't a huge fan.
See, I thought it was good, and it was all the...
For me, it's not. Spider-Man's one of my favorite all-time comic book characters. The reason why Venom exists is because the symbiote got on Spider-Man, and it took a lot of Spider-Man's abilities and traits with it. It adapted those, and then that's how Venom has all those. It also, Venom does not pick up on Spider-Man's spider sense, and that takes that away with the way that they do this Venom. And to me, I hate it. Venom's one of my favorite comic book characters, and I hated the way they did it.
Tom Hardy was a fantastic Eddie Brock.
See, I
don't disagree with that.
I hated Eddie Brock as the hero because he had no redeeming qualities. Absolutely none.
No.
I don't think he was framed too much as a hero the whole time, and I wish they wouldn't have because there were no redeeming qualities. Like, I didn't like him whatsoever.
The evolution of Eddie Brock in the comic was he was a terrible person, especially with the Venom symbiote, and then he actually tries to redeem himself and the Venom symbiote, and then loses the Venom symbiote and goes on to somebody else because he didn't want to do it anymore.
Yes.
That's the thing with Eddie Brock.
Well, and Venom's an anti-hero. Like, Venom's not a good dude. No. Like, he's a bad guy.
When he's he was a bad guy and then he turned anti-hero trying to make up some of the mistakes he did as a bad guy.
Kind of like Punisher. Punisher's not always a good guy either.
Right.
Punisher's more of a good guy than Venom, but either way, like anti-heroes, big fan. But I'm telling you, like, Deadpool's going MCU. Like, that's happening.
I can see that. I wouldn't mind it. They could cross those over because it seems like that's a different set of X-Men than what was in there. So that Colossus has not been in the other X-Men movies. So you could actually reboot the X-Men and have that Colossus, right?
So what if Wanda does that? What if Wanda pulls in two Colossus? What if we get the Patrick Stewart and the James McAvoy?
Professor X's?
That'd be pretty crazy.
I think that,
which they're totally willing to do.
But
they are fucking printing money.
This is how fucked up the X-Men timeline are. That's the same guy. James McAvoy is just a young old Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
right. Same thing. Like, I also love Ian McKellen and I love Michael Fassbender, so I want them to be in an X-Men movie.
See, I don't. I'm done with those guys. I hate those X-Men movies. I love the X-Men from the old 90s X-Men show. And the only good X-Men movie they've ever done was Days of Futures Past. And then Logan. Logan was pretty good.
Well, Days of Futures Past showed Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy in the same. And
Fassbender and McKellen.
Yeah. I loved it. It was a really, really good
movie.
No,
it was a very good movie. But honestly, I think it's all going to end up being tied into the MCU, and like the fact that they brought Quicksilver back at the end of this WandaVision episode was like, it was kind of epic, right? Because you're just like, well, what they already had a Quicksilver.
It makes it more. That's one thing I'll say about the show. I don't know if I like it, but it's very interesting on where they're taking it.
So I guess I do one thing going for them. Yeah, no, it's intrigue.
Yeah,
they have created intrigue, and so that's where we're at with that. So Tyler, successful episode 6.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much. I was gonna say I'm really interested in hearing what you guys would like to hear on the podcast. So if you, especially when it comes to like these shows, because we watch a lot of shows, and if there's other shows that you would like for us to do reviews and stuff on, let us know.
We did get a suggestion for Harry Potter.
Yes,
we love Harry Potter.
We are going to do I think we might do a special episode to Harry Potter because there's a lot of those movies.
Yes, absolutely.
And either that or we might have to break it down and do that over like a couple week time.
So we're
going to work on that though.
Sure. Absolutely. Pop culture is definitely one of our like big loves, and so Harry Potter, that's a no-brainer. We'll totally do an episode.
I love Game of Thrones. If you guys want to do like a Game of Thrones rewatch type thing, I wanted to talk about the live thing because I thought that was pretty successful that you did on Facebook.
So
that was cool.
Last Wednesday, I did a live event where I just came on and just wanted to talk to anybody that was anybody that listens to the podcast. Just take some suggestions, answer any questions that you guys had. I'm not going to say it was super successful, but there were definitely some people on at any point in time. We had 5 to 10 people on listening. There was definitely some growing pains. We had some technical difficulties at the beginning, and then Tyler jumped on and had to tell me that there's a minute delay, so I would ask a question, wait 30 seconds, and then be like, all right, guys, I guess no one's got any questions. then it would pop up on the feed. So, yes, and I like that. I like engaging people that are fans of the podcast. So we're going to keep doing that. We're kind of in talks on how often we're going to do that. But right now it looks like we're going to do it the first Wednesday of every month.
And it could be some, like, again, we want to hear from you guys on how you guys would like to do it. Because really we do this show if people want to listen to it and like it. We like doing it. And so, but if you guys want to do like like I said, I love Game of Thrones. I know the last season wasn't very good, but something I'd be interested in is like a rewatch where we rewatch a season, maybe do a live where we could talk about it or something like that. Make these lives a little bit more dynamic and have a little bit more of a purpose kind of thing.
I'm completely caught up on every CW superhero show.
There you go. There's a few that I need to watch.
I'm a super geek when it comes to like Supernatural. I'm also a super geek when it comes to like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So like if there's any shows that you guys want to walk down memory lane or like talk about certain episodes or something, like I am 100% game.
And I literally watch just about every movie, and I watch a ton of shows. I even watched, what was the one that your girlfriend was watching after the Super Bowl? Bridgerton. I've watched every episode of that, and I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good. So my tastes go all over the place.
And if you're like 18, 19 years old and are absolutely not excited about anything we named, I will tell you that I also absolutely love Cobra Kai, and I was alive during the first Karate Kid, so I can tell you guys all about the origins.
And also, we had a request to do a music episode and talk about some of the music we listen to, and that's something.
Yeah, that came up in the live feed too. You're right.
Yep, and we're going to do that as well. So remember, if you guys want to reach out to us, you can reach us at the Unacclaimed Pod on Twitter, Tyler Hicks on Twitter, Facebook, Critically Unacclaimed, and then we also got the unacclaimedpodcast.com.
The Critically Unacclaimed Podcast.
Critically Unacclaimed Podcast.com. And then we have a donation button on there. We had a request to get that from a couple different people. We already got some donations, and I want to say thanks to everybody who's donated. That is freaking awesome.
That is amazing. Like it's not free to do these podcasts. Obviously, the equipment and everything costs money.
And know that every dollar you send in is going right back into this podcast.
100%. And will for a very, very long time. But yes, that's a huge thank you. There was one person in particular that donated $100. I'm not going to put his name on blast or anything, but thank you, sir. That was
unless you want to. If you want to, message us and we'll give you a shout out.
Absolutely.
And if you do donate or anything like that, and you want a shout out, let us know. We'll shout out all your Twitters and social medias, whatever you guys want on that. Or if you have something you want to say, and you can pay us to say it, and we'll say it on here. So, but we really appreciate you guys. We'll sell out for you guys. Don't worry. So
if you're gonna sell out, do it for money.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. I'm Brandon.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Grayson.
Thanks, guys.
Straight from the mud like rugby. Straight to the stage, they love me. I understand they hungry, but please don't hate, that's ugly. I've been sliding, shaking, moving. I've been popping in my city. Shawty say she love the way we do it with me. I be too turned up to ever give a fuck. I ain't come to argue, let a nigga fuck. They been talking pennies, I need bigger bucks. About to catch a flight, I need to switch it up. Got that black boy joy, might do my dance on him. Take no disrespect, might put my hands on him. Hit this chicken, now she wanna marry me. But she gon' need some closure and some therapy. Came back to the city with my bank account on F. Giving rappers hell, I know they happy that I left. Hit the south in winter, I just put down my deposit. 82 degrees, I left that jacket in my closet.
Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up. They got amnesia, don't remember how they played us. They wanna knock me down, but somehow I just stay up.
Hey, look, came in with the what's that? Left out with the who she? Laying game like 2D, I been kicking shit like Bruce Lee. Margarita to the brim tip, black denim need a slim fit. Same people that I flex with be the ones that I'm in the gym with. I'm a living legend, you a dead cause, and I'm dead ass. No, I'm dead right. Leaving early, but I'm early night. Long and short to keep the head right. Teed up out in Malibu, got sand all in my good shoes. Press a nigga with the pessimism, but I only came for the good news. I am the show that they came for, hitting the target I aim for. We been discussing the contract, just telling they get what they paid for. I am not fucking with poverty, really it started to bother me. I need the yacht with the property, that come with the view that you gotta see. Came up from the basement, hit the rooftop with a passion. Bad bitch with some good credit and a good sense for the fashion. Dope blowing with the left hand, ass gripping with the right hand. Uber share to the airport, I'ma hit you back when my flight
Bill, I'm
land.
in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up.